Hey, everybody, welcome, and Happy New Year. Here we are, right? Gosh, and it's hard to believe, like, it's already going by fast. That's all I got to say, right? Holiday season. I hope everybody had an awesome holiday season, and I hope that you had some time to get some rest and relaxation with family and friends. I know, honestly, I got that opportunity myself. Like I seriously took a whole week off, which is kind of rare for me. But it's so awesome because I actually was like, I'm looking forward to Monday. Can you believe that? So I feel really, in a good place, very much looking forward to the new year. And I'm so happy to kick off our Live with Leslie series with the wonderful Karen Kennedy. So welcome, Karen. Really happy to have you here today.
Thanks. It's good to see you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. And Karen, let everybody know where you're coming from, where you're based.
Right. So I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I'll have to kind of zero in on it gradually because I live a little bit out in the sticks. I live near Vancouver, Washington, which is in Southwest Washington State. And my nearest town is sort of La Center, Battleground, Washington. So if you know the area, it's near Mount St. Helens.
Oh, yeah.
But we're a bit out in the sticks here.
So we've talked about this. It's out kind of close to, it's on the border, right?
Yeah, it's on the border near Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
But of course, whenever you say Portland, Oregon, everyone's political buttons all light up and go. Everyone has an opinion about Portland these days.
True. It is kind of a lightning rod sort of place these days, right? So great. And I had the pleasure of getting to meet Karen in person, in the flesh this summer. And it was I just have to tell this story real quick because it was just meant to be, right, Karen? So Karen was part of my Six-Figure Biz Academy in 2021.
Which is another conversation. What a great class that was.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'd love to hear, get a little input from you on that because believe it or not, we're getting ready to roll out the next cohort, 2022. So Karen was in the Six-Figure Biz Academy and ironically, we found ourselves at same dates at Orcas Island.
For 2 days. We're in the same place on the planet for 2 days.
And do you guys know how, it's a really remote place. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we just so happened to overlap on Orcas Island, which is off the coast of Washington for 2 days. So I got the pleasure of actually meeting Karen live in the flesh, which was a lot of fun. Got to meet her kids and really enjoyed that. So Karen, what are we going to talk about today?
I'm going to talk about my my really exciting journey learning how to use continuous glucose monitors in my practice.
Awesome. That sounds great. This is going to be a really interesting topic. I'm excited to learn more about this myself. And before we click the live button, I was telling Karen that I had a couple people reach out to me before the live and just say, oh my God, I'm really excited to learn about this. So I think it'll be really interesting. You guys are going to learn how to incorporate this into your practice, this, the continuous glucose monitoring to add all kinds of benefits into the work that you do, and certainly to help your clients to ramp up the results, right? So before we kick off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Karen? You told us where you're located. Tell us a little bit about your, your history,
right,
your practice, what you specialize in. I mean, I think we can probably connect the dots given the topic today, but a little bit of that background.
So, my history in my work is a bit of it's not a straight line for sure. My initial emphasis professionally was in cancer research. I worked as a research scientist in cancer research for about 10 years in the Seattle area, focusing on cancer. And so I was in graduate school. I was studying immunology back then. such an interesting topic these days.
Yeah.
And then I did a pivot because my interest got to be more in the holistic and kind of self-healing rather than take a pill healing. And then I went to graduate school at Bastyr University, which I was lucky was right in my backyard, and did my master's degree in clinical nutrition there, and then promptly moved overseas. So I did a bit of a turn, and I was studying yoga. Just telling Leslie, she has this going on in her family.
Oh, yeah.
I was traveling, fell in love over in Italy with my husband, who at the time had just opened a yoga studio in England because that's where he lived. So I, of course, finished graduate school and promptly dumped everything and moved overseas to marry him, have kids. And so most of the work that I did in private practice was over in England, in the UK. And when I moved back to the States to live near my family here with my kids, I ended up taking some time off. I worked a little bit, but then I took some time off to homeschool my kids and to kind of work out some of my own health journey as well, like you do.
Yeah.
And then anyways, about 3 or 4 years ago, I finally got to a place where it was the right season to start up again. And, brushed up my skills and joined up with Leslie to take my business more seriously. And so here I am. But blood sugar has always been a huge interest of mine. It was a big part of my personal health journey and a lot of other people's. So I worked in diabetes education somewhat here, but most of my interest has been in pre-diabetes, metabolic syndrome. You all know that they're the same thing. And, kind of optimal health, trying to recognize the role of blood sugar and insulin dysregulation in preventing chronic disease and having optimal health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here I am. I'm in private practice now. The pandemic was a good thing for my business because it actually gave me the courage and the nudge I needed to go all online and all in that way.
Yeah, like many.
Mhm.
I cannot think of a client that has brick and mortar at the moment. So that, of all the challenges we had over the last couple of years, of course, I've mentioned this before, the silver lining is, no more rent, right? You have that lifestyle.
Mhm.
You've got location flexibility.
Right.
And the other really nice thing, I think, is that it's more accepted by the patients and clients, right? It's just it's what we do now.
Yeah. And the pets are so much happier.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, we all have. If you knew anybody who all you see is Leslie, all you see is me. What you don't see is where all our pets are. There's a cat up there. There's a dog down there. And you'll know where the dog is as soon as someone delivers any mail to our house.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm hoping mine are sacked out on the couch. They had their time at the dog park this morning, so fingers crossed. Got the curtains closed so they can't see anyone.
Sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. That's pretty much it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so let's talk a little bit about, how your journey in terms of how you started to integrate, let's back up. Actually, let's back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about your target audience. Like, what exactly is it?
Right. So I'd say, Leslie's been a big part of this journey. I'm like, my target audience is anybody who wants to work with me. Because I feel like my target audience is usually, I'm the best fit for somebody who has some metabolic dysregulation. Oh, that's not a good way to put it. Someone who actually doesn't know how to work with their body and who has been kind of working against it for a long time. Mm-hmm. So they're starving themselves trying to lose weight, and they've got hormone dysregulation. Most of them have some degree of metabolic syndrome or prediabetes, and they're just beating themselves over the head, doing all the work, and just it's not working for them. Or they don't want to do the thing their doctor said because it just doesn't sound like any fun.
Okay. That makes sense. Are you attracting clients through the blood sugar route, or
Yeah.
is that it mainly?
Yeah, not me. I get mostly through referrals. I have a group that I work with, actually in a different area. The different area that of a group practice that I work in is in pain management, and that group actually has a lot of POTS, dysautonomia, and blood sugar regulation. It's all self-regulation, learning how to find that Goldilocks zone and stay in it, so that the blood sugar regulation directly applies to them. But then I get a lot of referrals from my local doctor's office.
Okay, that's awesome. So do most of your clients come to you specifically because they need help regulating their blood sugar, would you say?
Yeah. They're like, oh my gosh, my cholesterol's super high. What's the deal? And I'm like, oh, let's address it through cholesterol. Or, oh, my doctor just told me I'm pre-diabetic. I'm terrified. I'm like,
Okay.
It's all right. No freak out moment. It's time for a pivot.
Okay. I love that. So tell us a little bit then about, your journey into using these devices, or is that the right word?
Yeah. Device. Sure.
Monitors, I guess, might be a better
Yeah.
word.
They're medical devices.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting journey.
What are they? And then, a little bit about the journey, how you got there.
Yeah. So I started learning about people using continuous glucose monitors. I'll show you. I got it here, so I'll show you the stuff. I had been listening to podcasts. Biohackers have used them. I follow other podcast hosts, and they've been using them with their clients and with themselves for years. But they always seemed out of reach for me and my patients. I don't just want to work with the rich patients who can pay, thousands and thousands of dollars. I want to work with everyday people. And everyday people aren't prepared to spend $200, $300 a month just for optimal health. That's not something they can do. Mm-hmm. There was always something that made it too hard. There was too much friction. And then, so the next step is I noticed that there were companies coming out like NutriSense and Levels who were offering direct consumer continuous blood glucose monitoring with their cool apps and stuff. And I have nothing bad to say about them. That's cool. That is great. But as a clinician, as a nutritionist, my hangups were a few things. One, my clients were already paying one person to help them. I didn't want to ask them, why don't you pay another few $100s a month for this service when we'd already had a relationship. It wasn't about losing a patient. They were, already spending the money. And I was taking care of their whole health. And I didn't have a way to really streamline getting that data. I couldn't access it. So when I was online with them, I could say, oh, I see what's been going on. I reviewed your data. Let's troubleshoot that. Mm-hmm. And, if they wanted to, they would have to pay hundreds of dollars a month to keep doing it, to keep using it. Mm-hmm. So that was still in the back of my mind going, oh yeah, for other people, cool. For me, my patients, maybe not so much.
Right.
But my breakthrough came last year when I was at the gym. I was at the gym, and like so many gyms, my gyms play ESPN and Sports Center and all the things. And so I'm taking a break between sets, like you do. And I look up, and there is this guy on ESPN with continuous glucose monitor on his arm, and they're doing direct-to-consumer marketing. Abbott was. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that was the end of that workout, because then I'm just standing there on my phone, like, what the heck? How do I get some of this action? Yeah. And so I go home, and basically that's all I did for the next 6 months. Is how do I get me some of this action? But it was actually a really long journey. And is it okay if I actually tell the whole process?
Yeah.
I think this is what's going to help other providers know how to get some of this for yourself too. There's a lot of friction along this road. Abbott, Freestyle Libra. So this is the product I'm using. And I'll tell you a little bit about, because it's hard to know. There's a lot of lingo. Mm-hmm. The first thing I did was I called Abbott. I'm like, how do I get this? And they said, you need to get a prescription from your doctor first. I said, oh.
Yeah.
then I pulled out my big girl pants and like called my doctor, who is a friend and a colleague, fortunately for me. And I said, I got to get one of these. And she's like, all right, bam, I got my prescription.
Okay.
So that was one point of friction that I know is a big of a hurdle.
Yeah.
And then it was about, what do I order? Because they had a few different glucose. They had a few different types of sensors. So I had to figure out that. And so I spent a lot of time on the phone with them. And I realized right then, I needed to go through this whole process as a patient.
Yeah.
So I could see what their experience was like, so that I could figure out where the friction points were, what was sticky, and where I needed to kind of lube their, where I needed to make it easier for them. Because it's one thing for a nutritionist like me, who's a total nerd, who in her free time would like to figure out how to use a continuous glucose monitor. And my patients who are sitting there going, oh, I don't want to do this. Right. I want to get better, but I don't even want to stop eating ice cream at night, let alone navigate this whole clunky system.
Right.
So I just did it. I told my doctor, I'm like, I need months of this stuff. Just give me a big prescription so I can do this, because then I'll do it for your patients. I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay.
So I went through that process, and I was on the phone with Abbott customer service, which is very good. Every couple of days saying, what about this? And what does this mean? Mm-hmm. And so fast forward about a month, I figured out how to get this. I figured out how to get a free one. Everybody gets their first sensor free. Mm-hmm. But of course you have to sign up through Abbott, get in their system, get a coupon, march it over to the pharmacy, give it to the pharmacist with your prescription to get your new medical devices from the pharmacist. So that's the first thing.
So what's the coupon? What does the coupon do?
The coupon basically gives you a free sensor.
Oh, okay.
So this is where I want to backtrack and talk about lingo, because this is where people are like, sensor, reader, I don't understand this.
Okay.
So when you're using a continuous glucose monitor, there's two pieces of equipment that you need. One, and I'll show you, I've got an old one here. It's a sensor. You've probably seen this.
Yes.
Because sometimes you'll see people with this little dot on their arm. And sometimes you see people with a big black patch that says a logo of the company that's providing it. This sensor sometimes can fall off if you run into a door frame or take off your sports bra without thinking. And so people put in a patch that's kind of like kinesiology tape. Mm-hmm. And they put that patch over to protect it.
Okay.
So this is the sensor that sits in your arm. And no matter who you go through, this sensor lasts for 2 weeks. That's not true. The Dexcom is a different company that makes a continuous glucose monitor that's more expensive, slightly, it just does a different thing. Theirs lasts for like 10 days, but they all have a finite lifespan. That it just senses it. And then you have your reader.
Oh, okay.
And that's another, like, do I get a reader? Or do I see people using their phone?
Right.
So a lot of people, if you have the right kind of phone, how do I know the right kind of phone? It's all on the Abbott website.
Okay.
If you're willing to fish around and look and try to figure out what all this stuff is.
Yeah.
And as a provider, that's the kind of thing I needed to do. And I'll tell you later how I used my Practice Better system to create a whole program that has all of this stuff imported in one place.
Okay.
So then I had to figure out, well, will my phone work? It has to have like that near field, whatever, where it can like sense something. So your phone, then you can just swipe it over through your clothes, swipe it over that, and then you'll get, it'll give you a little bit. Your glucose is 120 right now and going up. And what the hell did you just eat, lady? But if your phone doesn't work, then you have to add to the prescription. Your doctor has to write a prescription for a little reader, which is just like a glucose meter. Mm-hmm. And this is, then you just, swipe it and it gives you the information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting that, well, I guess I see why it's prescription, because it's a medical device. So it is what it is, right?
It is what it is.
Not a lot, I guess not a lot we can do to change that. Okay.
Yeah. But there's some, and like most people would think, oh, I wish my phone would work because then it would save me all this money. And there's benefits and drawbacks to each one of those. And I think it's important to know that, because I actually my phone didn't work at first. I had an older phone, which always seems to be the case. So I went and just invested and got myself a new phone that worked. But for the first month or so, I was using one of these readers. And I figured, well, in the interest of science, I'm going to try all the things. Yeah. Because even like my dad, I wanted to, like, Dad, you got to get on one of these. He goes, I don't want to use a smartphone and I don't want to share my data with people. I'm like, I got you. So the nice thing about using these little readers is it gives you all the same data. But if you don't want it to, share to whatever it's sharing to, it can stay local. It also doubles as a glucometer and a ketone reader.
Oh, okay.
So for those of you who are doing a ketogenic diet and watching that, you can use the same device to read your glucose strips, which also helps you calibrate the reader, because there's a little bit of there's a lag between blood glucose and then what these sensors test, which is interstitial fluid. And then if you have ketone strips, you can plug your ketone strips in here and test them too.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what would you say? All right. So because there's a few hoops to jump through, right? Obviously, you got to get a prescription. There's several steps. And interestingly, let me share a comment we have here. I'm just wondering, like, how often what percentage of your patients or clients end up actually doing this? And thanks, Anna, for the comment. Right, I think that is so interesting that that she ran into resistance.
Yes, Anna, I'm glad. Thank you for that little segue, because you bring up a really important point, and you will run into an occasional hard no. I haven't run into many. I actually, before I started doing this, I talked to some doctors who I know, who I already, we share patients or they're friends of mine. And I asked them, I'm like, would you write this prescription? And what would make you want to or not want to? And granted, the selection of doctors that I, collaborate with or are friends with, it's a bit of a different population maybe. But they assured me that they said, oh, yeah, I would love it if my patients use this.
Yeah.
But the thing that they said was one thing they said was tricky that I think gets lost is that people confuse getting a prescription with getting insurance coverage.
Oh, interesting.
And this is where I think it's good to talk about price now, because I brought up price originally as one of my obstacles, that I didn't want it to be super expensive. So you are not going to get your insurance might cover this. It depends on your insurance. It depends on your health. It depends on lots of things. But the price of this, which I'll tell you in a minute, and not because I'm trying to give you the great deal, just wait. It's so cheap you can't afford not to do it.
Okay.
You need to distinguish between, I'm not asking for my insurance to cover this. I'm asking for a prescription. And I have a stock letter that I give to providers for my patients and my group when I do a group course that explains what this is, why we're doing it to prevent diabetes, because of all the damage I don't have to tell you, all the damage that's done before you even get diabetes, blah, blah, blah. And how I see better glucose control using one of these as an educational and accountability tool.
Okay.
And I tell them, this is the exact thing I want a prescription for. Here's the website for it. And I'm not requesting insurance coverage for it. If we want to use it long-term, we'll look at it later. So I always provide a letter, because I find that a letter on letterhead from a licensed professional or anybody other than their patient for some reason, gives credibility to what's going on. And it helps. And you know, and please call me. Here is every way you can get a hold of me.
Okay.
Love to talk to you, love to educate you about this. That has really helped. I've got phone calls and emails from providers.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, now I'm getting more of their patients. They're like, oh, this has been great. Now I'm getting their patients coming to me more often. So it's a hard-won thing, but it's worth the effort.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one. Two, one of my physician friends said the paperwork she gets when she writes a prescription and the insurance doesn't cover it is like a deluge in her office. Then it's like, sorry, insurance won't cover it. And then the pharmacy sends it, and then the insurance company sends it, and then everything. It's just, you know, it's a mess.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with that.
They don't want to deal with it. So the workaround we got with that, and it's something that I put in. So I have a lot of patient materials. I have handouts, and I have a whole sequence that they go through, you know, that's drip fed to them through the process. And it's said explicitly in their provider letter, I am happy to hand take that prescription from your front desk and walk it over to my pharmacy and hand it to them and say, I'm going to cash pay this. Don't run it through my insurance, please.
Okay.
I'm going to cash pay. Don't run it through my insurance. And if you offer that right up front to your provider, I think you're showing a degree of respect for the system that you're working in. You know, let's just live in reality. And for the fact that they don't want to deal with this paperwork.
Oh yeah. It sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
With all the paperwork.
Yeah. Because they want this for their patients. It's not like doctors are out to, you know, stonewall everybody. They just want to stop answering email and dealing with paperwork.
Okay. So what does it cost then? So
the base cost for this, the most that people will pay for this is about $75 per month.
Okay.
So each sensor, remember, the sensor that goes in your arm is about $37 cash for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that's the top price that you're going to pay for that. And then everything comes down from there. And then so I assume you guys might be interested in how do you pay less than that?
Yeah.
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 So the first way to pay less is on the Abbott's website. So the first step for your patients is kind of the first two steps is one, make an appointment with their doctor and get that ball rolling.
Okay.
And the other one is you get on Abbott's website, and it's just, what is it? I pulled this up so I'd have it. It's just Google Freestyle Abbott.
Okay.
Freestyle Abbott is it. And I'll send Leslie the links, or I can put the link in the chat right here, can't I?
Great.
Let's do that. And you'll see on there that there's a thing that says free trial. And you just click on free trial. And you as a provider, I want you to do this. Just do it. Go through it yourself. It's going to be fun. Yeah. You're going to learn a lot. That's the first step for any of you to do this is just to do it for yourself. You get on the free trial. They ask you some questions. You enter all your information. And then they say, you qualify for our free trial. Okay. I don't think anybody doesn't qualify for their free trial. So, and then you just like download their coupon, and it's just a piece of paper that you bring to your pharmacy after you get the prescription from your doctor. You know, maybe you've hand delivered it and then said, and here's my coupon, just like you would for any coupon, like lots of pharmaceutical companies provide coupons. And then you get your sensor. I personally I got my first two sensors, and then I got a reader, and this is $65 one time. And I own it, you know, forever. I have a reader. So that's it. So I paid nothing for my sensor the first time, and I paid $65 for my reader, and off I went. And then every subsequent one, I paid like $37.50 for. Okay. Now, the next tier of saving money is Abbott. If you go to Abbott, they will print you out a coupon for the calendar year that takes about $5 or so off a month. They will also help you navigate your insurance and Medicare to help you see if your insurance can cover it and drop that price down even more.
Okay.
So that's something for the patient to go through and direct. And that's where you want to put in your materials. Now it's the time to visit them and call Abbott, their customer service, and have them help you find a way to pay for it. Because Abbott's, they benefit from you using their product. So it's in their interest to, give you a hand with that, and they do it.
Okay. I love that. That sounds really good. So I'm going to take a peek at the comments we have here. And so we might have a new business for you. Selling your forms, bundling your forms.
Yeah. Malena, thank you for asking that. And why I'm thanking you for asking that. Because I have got a lot of people asking me this, and I thought, oh, well, anybody could do this. I mean, I did it. But you're busy. I'm sure you're a very busy person, and you have other things you'd rather do. So I'm going to do a little bit more of this year. And then I'm planning on spending some time over the summer working up the forms. I know people will do Canva templates so that you can just go, thank you, there's my branding, go.
Yes.
So I would like to do some kind of, practitioner facing, what do they call that? B2B.
Yeah.
Practitioner training to get other people set up, because right now it just, friends of mine have called and said, one of my friends from graduate school, Karen Power. She called me and said, what the heck are you doing? How are you doing this? And I told her, and I thought, oh, you can do this. And she's like, I'm too busy to do this. Now what do I do? Tell me what I'm supposed to do now.
That's what we're all busy. And and I actually, I think it's a great idea. Bundle those forms, sell them. I think it's going to be super helpful.
Yeah.
And what's kind of cool about it is you're making a difference in the world, right? Because then
we get more people hooked up to this
that can help their clients.
Right.
So
now let's talk about how this helps clients, because this is the really cool part.
Mm-hmm.
This is the really cool part. So also along this journey, and this is something I learned a lot from Leslie, which I had done prior to working with Leslie a little bit, but kind of just scrambling in the dark. But, in taking her 6-figure business class, it really kind of helped me understand why some of my courses, while the content was subjectively, in my opinion, great, they weren't filling because they were broad and I wasn't promoting them the right way. And, this time I thought, oh my gosh, well, now I have a very niche-y kind of thing. And trust me, I resisted a niche like nobody's business. I just did not want to do that. I tried it out for myself, and then I did a beta group. With, clients I'd already worked with, the clients who I like working with, who they were a joy to interact with, and then friends that I could wrestle, and my VA, who I now have, because Leslie's like, you got to have a VA. So I got my group, my people, and I said, this is free. I did a free one. You might not want to do it free, but I did it free because this was it was like an alpha program. I really had almost nothing going. So I developed my content with them, and I said, I want you to do this with me, but you have to give me feedback. I want you to take a picture of the darn thing. And, and then I want you to participate in my groups later, so you can be the voice of experience.
Great strategy.
So they were great. They really helped me. And so we did this group, and I learned how to use some of the materials that Libra has. So what Abbott, the company, Freestyle Libra is the product, the sensor. I feel like they should pay me for this stuff.
Right? I know.
Right.
And by the way, Kathleen, a VA, is a virtual assistant. And someone that can help you do a lot of the behind the scenes work in your business. And just as an FYI, if you go to my Facebook page, we've got at least, I would say, 3 separate live streams on that topic. And there'll be more to come. I'm finding that's a really important.
So helpful. What do you need in a VA? How do you hire someone? Hiring the yin to your yang.
Yeah. Well, how about this, Karen? Let's do another live on how you found your VA And
Right.
yeah, because I know you're really, really happy. So,
And she's probably on here, Amy.
hello.
Go ahead, and Amy Timms is my VA. And also has been my friend my entire life. I've been waiting for her to go into the VA business forever. So because she's been giving me business advice, good business advice that agreed with everything Leslie said. And so when she finally said, "I quit my job, I'm going," I'm like, "Great, I'm hiring you."
Yes, that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah,
She manages me.
I think our audience would love to learn more from you on your experience.
Yeah.
So tell us then how this is helping your clients be more
Right.
successful.
So the first thing is when I get my clients get hooked up. So let's say we've gone through the process, they've got it hooked up. They're hooked up. It's in their arm.
Okay.
When I say in your arm, this is a freak out moment for some people. It does just.
I was kind of wondering.
Can you see?
Yeah.
There's a little like a filament in it.
Yeah.
It's not a needle. It doesn't even qualify as an acupuncture needle. Okay. And I know that it does not hurt to go in. It samples interstitial tissue.
It's not a real sensitive spot.
No, it does. Like at first time I put it in, I'm like, and I did it live on camera. It was fine. It was fine.
Okay.
But anyways, so they're in what I wish I could show you. What Abbott has is they have something called Libra View, LABREVIEW, and it's a web-based bit of software where I can I send them an email invitation to share their data from their phone, or there's a USB link where you can plug this thing into your computer, upload your data, and it shares it with me. But people who use it with their phone, every time they scan, bloop, I get it.
Oh,
it doesn't put an alert on my phone, thank God, but it comes up. So before I get on my call with them or a group coaching call, I can pull up data. And now I'm on with you, and I'm doing a screen share here with Leslie. And I'm like, Leslie, let's pull things up.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of a patient I just spoke to this last week. She did my beta program. She was also a client of mine. And she has prediabetes. She's on metformin. She's doing some things, but she's having, her glucose levels were high, overnight highs, some high liver enzymes. So we did some education. We plugged her in, and her overnight, she was sitting around 120 overnight.
Okay.
All night, really high. And so for those of you not in the blood sugar game, the target range that I use, which is very ambitious, but we're in the job of being ambitious with health, is 70 to 140 mg per deciliter of glucose. 70, 140. Libra does 180. I don't want anybody touching 180.
Yeah. What about overnight?
Overnight, I want people to be 70 to 90.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So overnight, she's at 120. And that's our first target, is we need to get that down, because we know, from research done on, Sachin Panda has done a lot on circadian rhythms.
Yeah.
And we know that, when you're doing intermittent fasting, being in the fasted state. So it's not about not eating. It's about being in the fasted state for 12 to 16 hours. It matters that that's overnight, because that's when all those metabolic processes take place that they need your insulin levels to be down. And when people's blood glucose is sitting at 120, they're not in the fasted state. Their insulin levels are still high. And so they're not utilizing stored fat. They're not doing that overnight ketosis. They're not toggling from fat burning to glucose burning, helping them to be more metabolically flexible. And so overnight fast, that's really important. And she wasn't getting it. So we made some changes. We didn't throw this is the thing. You don't have to throw the kitchen sink at it. That's what puts people off of dietary and lifestyle changes. The doctors, you have to do all these things. But my life.
Right.
So we tried, for her, let's not have wine. Let's cut out the daily wine.
Yeah.
And stop eating 3 hours before bed.
Okay.
No sweets at night, no eating at night before bed, cut out the wine. How are you doing? I'm sleeping so much better. Well, we know alcohol inhibits REM sleep, so that was, but her overnights had gone down significantly. every now and then, like I looked at one of her graphs. I'm like, what the hell did you eat that day? She goes, oh, we went to Taco Bell and had Taco Bell. and I'm sorry if you're listening to this, but it was such a great example. I had Taco Bell and a Mountain Dew. And I'm like, well, we didn't need a monitor to know that was, but what we saw was, and this is where that education comes in. Mm-hmm. Her overnights were getting lower and lower and looking really stable and good.
Yeah.
And then she had lunch that just went off the charts that night. So that wasn't even her evening meal. That night, her blood sugars were higher. The next day, her blood sugars were higher.
Wow.
Because in a person who's very metabolically healthy, which implies resilience, mm-hmm. if you have a party day, you can bounce back from that pretty quickly. But what people see now is the less metabolically resilient you are, the harder it is for you to come back to that balance point. Mm-hmm. And so she got to see the fruits of her effort. Like, one, she knew she was sleeping better, but now she can correlate that with the glucose. And she knows that just not having wine every night. Now she knows she can have, like, I'd like her to be able to go out, have a glass of wine on like Saturday nights. Yeah. She's not there yet. It might take a little bit longer, but she can see the direct correlation.
So she gets that feedback, which it sounds like is super motivating.
Yeah. And what it does is it changes my relationship with my clients completely. They're no longer this passive, like, hi, I'm here for my appointment. What are you going to tell me to do now?
Oh, okay.
Which isn't, I don't love that dynamic. And it's not what I want. The work we do is so collaborative. Mm-hmm. Now they come to me and they're like, oh my God, did you see? Like, look at what I ate and look at what it did. Or, my overnight, I can't get this down. How do I do this, Karen? So I have turned this person into a CEO of their healthcare. And now I'm exactly where I should be. I'm the hired consultant.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, let me see if I can help you. Here's some tools. This might work. Try this week. And then let's jump on a quick call. Let's jump on a call for 15 minutes next Monday. And let's see how that worked. And then let's add another thing. So you can find the minimum effective dose of healthy lifestyle to reach your goal.
Yeah. Amazing.
Because the minimum effective dose of healthy lifestyle to reach your goal. So it's not, you're going to have, people always think my VA, I wanted her to do this. Like, I want you to use the CGM because you got to help me promote this thing and support people. She's like, no, because I don't want to have to give up all the food that I love.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, Amy, quit being a baby. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
So she did it. And this is total Amy. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to do it. She does it. And then she does it better than anybody else. And what she and I discovered was, like, her classic one is, I cannot have candy at night. And I can't have candy by itself, but she loves her candy. She can have it in the middle of the day and only after protein.
Oh my gosh.
So she's discovered what this is how can you hack what you want to do into your life so that it doesn't negatively impact your health?
Yeah. So someone that loves ice cream, maybe.
When can you have, just figure out how and when you can have it.
Maybe it's not before bed, right?
It's definitely not before bed. It's at a picnic table in the middle of the day at Orcas Island with your friend.
There you go. Yeah. So I love it's a great way to strike a compromise without having to just give up everything. And that's where you get into that vicious cycle. The more you give it up, the more you try to avoid it, the more you want it. And it just is a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love it.
And it's accountability. It's another Amy quote was, I don't want to stop wearing one because I feel like I have a health coach on my arm all the time.
Yeah, I can see.
And a client of mine who I love, and she says, this is so good for my ADHD because this makes it a game. She goes, I can't wait 3 months. And this goes with like Jane, What's that book? Habits, Atomic Habits by James.
Yep.
So he talks about, sorry to jump, but his comments relate directly to this other client who said how good it was for her ADHD. He says that when we make unhealthy choices, we get immediate positive feedback, and we have to wait a long time for the negative feedback, which doesn't work because we get this great immediate dopamine hit or whatever that kind of rewards us. Ooh, more of that. And put off the negative. Whereas the positive things we do, we don't get an immediate benefit usually. And we have to wait 3 months for our follow-up hemoglobin A1C to tell us that we did something.
Right.
And wearables, so I wear an Oura ring as well, because I have a history of really poor sleep, and sleep and stress are everything to me because I'm an intense spaz. And so it helps me, self-regulate, right?
It's all about
and then this continuous glucose monitor, it gamifies it. And it means that if you do something that is good for your body, you get to look at it and go, yes, look at that curve. And you can put on an Instagram and say, look, I managed to eat ice cream and keep my blood sugar levels down.
I love it.
So it gives short-term rewards.
Yeah, and I it's so interesting what you said about the atomic habits, right? How like you do something maybe not so great, but the feedback on that doesn't come until later, like months later sometimes. And then it's hard to know what you did. Like, what was it that I did that caused it?
Right.
And that's where you throw everything in the kitchen sink to solve the problem.
And that's never sustainable.
It's just not sustainable. It ends up backfiring on people. So this instant feedback I can see how it would be incredibly motivating for people.
And $75 a month for instant feedback for positive habits. You can't afford not to do that.
Yeah.
Even everybody, like even me, and I'm pretty metabolically healthy. Doing it for a few months told me exactly what I should and shouldn't be doing.
Okay. Amazing.
Now, and probably in another 10 years, it wouldn't be a bad idea for me to plug in for another month to see what's changed. Can I still have a mango lassi after my Indian food? By the way, never drink a mango lassi on an empty stomach. That's bad. That's a
bad idea.
Wait till after you're done with your lamb korma.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let's take a look at. We got some questions and comments here. Okay, so here is.
Okay. Why do they require a prescription if it's free with a coupon? Great question. So this goes back again to, we have to separate require a prescription and insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Your doctor, my doctor said it perfectly. I'm lucky because my doctor and colleague she's an MD with functional, and she's trained with Institute of Functional Medicine. So she's really switched on with this, but she's not the only one. She's like, it's just like writing a prescription for sauna. I'm not going to pay for your sauna. Your insurance company's not going to pay for your sauna, but I'd be happy to write a prescription for sauna or a massage or those things. So you need to remind your provider, because providers are used to people not wanting to pay out of pocket for anything,
right? Because
they pay the earth for their insurance and they want to use it, understandably. So separate those two things in your mind and in your patient's minds and in your provider's minds. Prescription and insurance are two different things.
Okay. Got it.
And so in Canada and Mexico, because I have clients in both, you don't need a prescription for this.
Oh.
And I have a feeling that in 5 years, all this will be very mainstream, but you might as well get ahead of it. In Europe and Asia, they've been using Freestyle Libras for years, but the FDA approved it late here. So like I've got a lot of my knowledge from like type 1 UK YouTubers who are like 18. That's who's sharing the information.
That's so interesting. Okay. I don't know if Sharon, are you still here? Is your question answered? I I think she had a question about.
You said it was free for 2 weeks. Yeah. And so these sensors that fit on your arm, these last for 14 days. These last for 14 days.
Okay.
So you get your first one free. And that's like $37.50, at least at my pharmacy. And I've seen that so you get that. So you save $37.50 there. That's money in your pocket. And then you pay for your next one and all the ones after that.
Okay. So $37.50 for the sensor. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
Is that, did I get that? Yeah.
That's exactly. Yeah. See the terminology. And I should say this will trip you up as a provider. So Libra Freestyle they have 3 different things, but you'll have 2 things available to you. There's the, I'm going to put this up because it's helpful. Yeah. There's the 14-day system, which is confusing because they all last 14 days.
Okay.
And there's also a Freestyle Libra 2, which is newer. Okay. You can decide what you want. The difference is the Libra 2 has alarms that you can't turn off.
Oh.
This is helpful if you have a type 1 child who you want to know if they're going hypo overnight. But we're not working with that population.
Okay.
I don't want alarms going off telling me that my sensor is malfunctioning or I'm sleeping on my side, waking me up. I don't need to be woken up by anything else. So I like the 14-day because it works and it has no alarms.
Okay. Okay, that is a really good tip. Because normally you would think, oh, I want the newer version. It must be better, new and improved. So, so good. Let's see. Let's see here.
I'm using
Oh,
it totally is. It is a joy. Because that's what you want. I think that's what we all want is we want to see that flip in our patients' minds to, oh, I get it. And now they're interested. Oh, tell me how to do this. I want to improve my blood sugar.
Exactly.
And I often suggest adding, Anna asked, I often suggest adding nuts, protein, and fat to fruits or sweets. Curious to see how it affects. So yes, and all the things we have always recommended still apply. We were right. But now for knuckleheads like me who need to learn the hard way, but I just need to go do it for myself. Those do work. But Anna, spoiler alert, you need to eat that stuff first before the fruit or sweets.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So remember my mango lassi?
Yes.
So my husband and I go out to dinner. That's our date night. Once a month, we go to our favorite Indian restaurant. And usually we order 1 mango lassi between the 2 of us because the stuff we get is so spicy, it destroys us. And a mango lassi is the answer to that. It's a natural answer. Well, if our food takes too long, here I am sipping on an empty stomach on a mango lassi. And this restaurant, mango lassi is yogurt and mango. Perfect. But I'm pretty sure they put some mango ice cream in this because it's pure sugar. And I had a monitor in and I took a few sips of my mango lassi first. And I have never seen such a high glucose spike on me.
Oh, there you go.
And that is when I learned that protein first, because of course you're trying to slow gastric emptying. And that protein or fat just puts the brakes on gastric emptying. Yeah. Okay. And mango lassi is like a mainlining sugar.
Okay. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know if I would have thought you can eat it together. You can eat a little,
it helps. It does help flatten the curve.
It helps, but you can really optimize by eating it before.
Yes, for sure.
That's a great tip. So I actually have one of these that I have not used. So
what do you have? Which brand of?
The Libra. Yeah. Because I think you and I might have talked about it on one of our phone calls, and I ordered it.
Probably because that's all I talked about for about 6 months.
Yeah. I did not get that amazing price, but I did get a prescription, and that part was easy. My doctor was like, "Okay, I don't think your insurance is going to cover it, but so that was fine." But I'm inspired to actually use it. Yeah. So
also Sam's Club and Costco. through the grapevine, because I belong to all these Libra Freestyle Facebook groups, because that's what I do when I want to learn. I join all the Facebook groups and I lurk on them. Apparently Sam's Club has some of the best retail prices, and they'll give you, so get the prescription for 3 full months. They'll give you a whole bunch at once at a great price.
Okay. So good to know. All right. Well, this has been amazing. Any final words of wisdom, Karen?
Do it first. Be the patient and go through it. You'll be a much better guide. And then I will put this stuff together. My words of advice is, if you don't want to do this, or if you can't do this, just come back and we'll do this together.
I think that's great. And where can people find you or follow you or
let me put so my website is Real Food Matters. That's my business name.
Okay.
So let's put that in the chat. And I have I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all the things because I have a good VA who helps me get all the places. But I have a private Facebook group.
Oh, okay.
Which is good, that we talk about a lot of this. But otherwise, it's Karen Kennedy. I'm Karen Kennedy Nutrition is my handle for all the things. But yeah, my Facebook group and my website is the place. And put my private Facebook group here. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Blue-to-do.
All right. I think, so I just put your Instagram.
Yeah.
Did I spell it right? Yes. I think
yeah. I'm starting to get more active on Instagram now.
Yay.
Because Leslie told me to.
Yes.
And my VA does it for me.
That's the beauty of it. And hopefully you're repurposing your content, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Well, someone else is repurposing my content for me.
I love that. That's even better.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah. So okay, so we know how to get in touch with you. It sounds like Karen is going to get those forms together in the near future, and those will be available to you. Definitely want to have Karen back. I'd love to chat about the VA, your experience, and then maybe by then,
maybe in the fall, talk about
your forms will be ready.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be incredible. This has been so amazing. Really,
we'll start a movement.
Yes, start a movement. Absolutely. I mean, I've got a few clients that I can think of that I think are really going to benefit from the strategy.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, it's been great spending some time with you. Super fascinating. I love the idea of getting instant feedback for behavior. It really, I think, is going to be so helpful for your clients to get better results. And it's going to really position you more as a collaborator versus like what Karen was saying, you telling them what to do, which is a much healthier dynamic, right? That's the dynamic we're after. So thank you, Karen. Thanks for everyone that joined us today. And also those of you that are going to catch the replay. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.